want to introduce Quanah Parker Brightman. He is an enrolled Sioux and Creek Indian and born in Oakland, California. His great-great-grandfather, Dog's Backbone, was one of the leaders of Custer's Last Stand. There's a marker honoring him for defending the Sioux way of life. Quanah is the executive director of United Native Americans. For those of you who, hey, Ted, I'm sorry, can you drop the whatchamacallit, the agenda again? So for those of you in the agenda, you can take a look at the link to United Native Americans. But he's the executive director of that organization. It's a nonprofit indigenous movement organization formed by his father, Dr. Lee Brightman, in San Francisco in 1968 to promote the decolonization and unity of all indigenous people. So in his capacity as a member of UNA, Quanah has testified before the UN listening sessions, the U.S. Department of Education's Urban Indian Education Listening and Learning Sessions.
I'll take this in the bedroom.
Oh, I think maybe somebody needs to go on mute. He's lobbied against fracking. He's testified against coal exports, lobbied against GMO foods, founded Idle No More in the San Francisco Bay Area, and hosted and organized the 40th and 50th anniversary of the Mount Rushmore takeover. Quanah has led and participated in many pro-Indigenous protests, marches, and sit-ins throughout the U.S., and he's a strong advocate against the many hate crimes that are affecting Indigenous people around the world. He advocates for the enforcement of all Indigenous treaties made with the U.S., reparations and accountability of the theft of tribal ancestral lands and natural resources, the protection of Native American sacred sites and burial sites, pro-Indigenous curriculum to be taught in K-12 public schools, ending the use of the blood quantum, improving the negative image of Indigenous people, and ending tribal corruption in Indian gaming. So needless to say, Quanah is our resident OG for today. And I have to say that pretty much literally every time we text, he's like, can't text now, I'm out canvassing. So he does it all. And on January 6th, he and his organization are hosting a January 6th event, and he will tell you more about that and what to do about the continuing MAGA fascist takeover of the country. So I will hand it off to you, Quanah.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for inviting me first and foremost, and thank you to everybody who's listening, to this update. I've decided, well, I've been involved for many, many years. My resume was just read. I was born into the civil rights movement. Both my mother and father are two of the founders of the civil rights movement for Native American tribal people. Done a lot of good work. My father is, of course, Dr. Lee Brightman. He founded the first Native American Studies program in the United States at UC Berkeley during the Third World Strike. We were involved in the takeover Alcatraz, Wounded Knee, a couple of long walks across country fighting against anti-Indian legislation. In 1978, we led a walk, which was kind of like the Million Man March for us, which was called the Longest Walk. And at that point in time, there was 11 pieces of legislation that were trying to destroy our particular sovereignty, try to destroy our hunting and gaming rights, destroy our reservations, take away our sovereignty. And my father and our group helped coordinate that, led the walk from San Francisco all the way to Washington, D.C., and defeated 11 bills in Congress. Of course, we've testified against, we've investigated Indian hospitals and boarding schools, and we're the first to really publish those things in our old international Indian newspaper called The Warpath, which was the first international Indian newspaper in the United States geared towards Indian issues back in the late 60s and 70s when we published it. And I've taken up the mantle of trying to fill in my father's shoes, which is extremely hard. It's not easy trying to fill in for my dad, who's, he was a very big, huge icon in, movement affairs. But I've done my best. I've been involved, since I graduated from college back in 2003. Been involved in many, many things throughout the years. But the reason why I've taken this up, in particularly against Donald Trump and the MAGA people and this fascist regime that they, have, is the fact that they are very diabolical and evil group who do not care about, people, do not care about humanity. Actually, Donald Trump, when he first came into office, he had overturned the decision that the old administration, the Democratic administration, President Obama, had done as far as stopping DAPL, stopping the pipeline through our tribal lands. And that's the reason why, we've taken this up against him. He's even lobbied against tribal gaming. Back in the 1980s, he, is quoted in the U.S. Senate, saying, well, they don't look Indian to me. Very racist statement, towards tribal people and our sovereignty. My aunt, her name is Gay Kingman. She is executive director of the Great Plains Tribal Association. And she's basically, she's very, very important woman, very strong woman. She's actually the founder of the National Indian Gaming Association. Got the legislation passed for us to have, tribal gaming throughout the United States. So I come from a long line of warriors, a long line of people and tribal advocates who've done tremendous work. As I said, I've been involved for a long, long time. But this action that we're proposing and we'd like people to mobilize around is, of course, justice for January 6th. As you know and remember, on January 6, 2021, that was the day that Donald Trump and the MAGA movement and these white domestic terrorists came about to our nation's capital, assaulted police officers, stormed our nation's capital, destroyed our nation's capital, committed vandalism. It was really mind-blowing for all of us who watched this on TV and seen the after effects of this particular, action. There's been over 1,000 people who participated in that particular day's action who've been arrested for various crimes, whether it be domestic terrorism, like the Proud Boys or the Oath Keepers, any of those groups that are hate mongers in our community. I'm glad to see them go to prison. I'm glad to see them be held accountable. And in order for us to really, have full justice on this, we do need to push forward with having the twice impeached former president be locked away. As you know, all of us who are sane people are seeing this, tyrant continue to threaten government officials, continue to threaten witnesses who are testifying against him. We're seeing, him continue to get online and post his conspiracy theories that have no facts, no evidence. I'm really appalled at the fact that, this person is running for president again and seems to believe that he can be our elected leader again. But this is the state of America right now. We have a huge divide in our community. A lot of people who are about democracy and about people and humanity, we really are at a crossroads to keeping our humanity and America, the dream, alive, in order for all of us, no matter what color, what race, what sexuality, anything, for us to be able to survive and come together as a people and as a nation. So I took it upon myself. I've organized a number of different actions against Donald Trump since he came into office, since he was elected, and we helped impeach him, through an organization that I've worked with called Refuse Fascism. Refuse Fascism is, of course, another national group, just like Indivisible, who's done tremendous work towards fighting against fascism and against Donald Trump. And of course, all of us who have taken up the mantle to doing civil disobedience, to testifying in hearings, and to trying to get all of our elected officials to do something about this in the court system. The main thing right now that we're seeing is the court system needs to revoke his bail. The court system needs to revoke his bail so that there are no more further attacks by Donald Trump and by his regime. We've seen Nancy Pelosi's own, husband get assaulted at their residence by some of these MAGA people in this Donald Trump regime. And yeah, I'm glad that he got held accountable. I'm glad that that person's going to prison. But these kind of particular acts need to stop. And it's going to take all of us as community and all of us as the movement of today to step forward and to fight the good fight and to do what needs to be done. And what we need to do is make sure that we're all united together to form that fist again so that we can out this particular person, so that we can get accountability from this person, from this insurrection that happened. Now, we have a couple of things that are going on right now in the courts in a couple of different states where we're trying to get Donald Trump moved from even being on the ballot. We need to fight a lot harder for that, and particularly, here in the state of California. This is our state. We need to make sure that we can get that done. In other states that are fighting that particular battle, we need to join them and help in these particular, fights that are going on, whether it be we write letters of support, whether it be we make phone calls, whatever we need to do. We need to support any endeavor that's going to get this person held accountable and off the ballot and locked away so that there's no more melee, no more BS going on from their particular site. Just to read from the flyer that I got that we've developed, let me show it to you. I'm a little old school, so hopefully you could see this. But basically, I have some color flyers. I printed up a number of color flyers, and I'm going to read you this. This January 6th marks the 3rd anniversary of the insurrection. January 6th was a dark day in America. The bipartisan January 6th Select Committee has shown that Trump and his MAGA allies planned, promoted, and paid for a criminal conspiracy to overturn an election they knew they'd lost. Even though some of the most prominent election conspiracies lost their midterms, MAGA Republicans have already looked to 2024 for ways to overturn the will of the voters. They are working to sabotage future elections by changing state laws, threatening state officials, and packing election administration offices so that they can have the final say over election results, even when they lose. We cannot be complacent and are calling for an end to the ongoing violence and criminal attacks on our freedoms. We must protect our elections by protecting voters and election officials in free and fair process. We're asking that each and every one of you please join us so that we can demand that Donald Trump's bail be revoked and Donald Trump be remanded into custody. This action that we're proposing is going to be on January 6, 2024 at the Supreme Court of California, which is located at 350 McAllister Street. And this is going to be in San Francisco, California. The zip code is 94102. This will be Saturday, January 6, 2024. We're asking for a press conference to commence at 1 o'clock, and the action will last until 3 o'clock with a number of guest speakers, very honored people who have participated in past actions and believe in what we're doing. And if you have any questions, please give myself or Nancy a call. My number directly is area code 510-672-7187. I'll include the flyer, in all of our email blasts and different ways that we can promote this particular action. And we're asking for people to come join us. If you have any signs that you'd like to bring, please do. If you know any other leaders who are interested in joining with us, please share this with them so that we can all mobilize on this particular day. So thank you very much for being here and listening to this message. And I hope that and pray that you feel the same way that I do, and that we can demand justice from our community. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Quanah. I think you can rest assured that we all feel the same way. And just want everybody to know that it's in the agenda, but I also dropped the link a couple times. It's right. Let's see, I'll drop. Oh, it looks, oh my God, Aaron, Aaron, too soon. He says, be there, will be wild. So I hope you'll be there, Aaron. Larry and I'm signed up right now. I know Larry said he'd go. Any other takers, people here on the screen? Love to get a little screen react if you are if you're gonna go, or maybe raise your hand. All right, Dane's gonna be there. Nice. I'm gonna be there. Sparkle hands. Oh, and also Ward is going to be there. Thank you, Ward. Great. And I know that most of you know Joanina Ramachandran. She's going to be a speaker there. So, and she's an IEB member. It'll be lovely to see her there as well. So hope you all can make it and share that link out with others.
Yeah, so I can add to that too, if you don't mind. Nancy and I and others in IEB have helped organize January 6th protests the past 2 years as well. In 2022, we were in San Francisco at the federal judicial office there. The Department of Justice office. Yeah, exactly. As well as in front of City Hall. And that was a huge protest, a couple hundred people there. We marched all around, made signs. We had my assembly member speak there, and we had several other excellent speakers. So that was really cool to do. And then last year we held a protest, this year in 2023, we held a protest at Lake Merritt, and that was an excellent protest with lots of democracy versus fascism themes there. And so it's hugely important to keep up this pressure. It is a matter of political pressure as well. So thanks so much, Kwana, for organizing this, and I'll be delighted to be there.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Grateful for your work, brother.
And we do have a couple of minutes for questions before our speaker on the Stop the Price Recall campaign arrives. So anybody else like to ask something, feel free to jump in.
I had a question for Kwana. I was wondering where I could learn more about the activities that your group does.
Oh, well, we have a number of different social media sites. If you Google United Native Americans, whether you be on Instagram, whether you be on Facebook or LinkedIn. I'm also on LinkedIn, and then a number of other different sites. There's a lot of historical videos that I've posted of our particular actions and testimony and different things on YouTube, our YouTube channel. You can look up myself or the group, Quantum Parker Brightman, or United Native Americans. There's historical footage on when we took over Mount Rushmore, and then a number of hearings that I've testified in. Actually, we've had some really good success lately as far as, fighting against this Martinez refinery over here in Martinez. The Department of Justice and the FBI are finally going to file a lawsuit against them for their negligence. So we've seen some good pushback. But we've also, unfortunately, at the California Public Utilities Commission, we've seen that their board has been extremely bad, continuing to be very bad towards our community. We're fighting this price gouging that's affecting all of us as a human race. We're all just trying to make it, man. I mean, I love seeing your little baby, right? Those big old cheeks, and I worry about the future, for us people. These economic times are getting really bad. This economic terrorism is getting really, really bad. So we got to do something about it too.
Thank you. I'll look in those places because everything's for her. So thank you.
Thank you, brother.
Hey, Dane and Kwana, Ian and I just dropped some links. So there's the link tree for UNA, and then also Facebook and Instagram.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. All this new tech. There's so
we got your back,
tech.
Kwana.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, guys. God. I just
and Joan has a question.
I was just wondering if you, Kwana, or anyone knows what it means if if Trump isn't on the ballot either on any given state, California or any other state, what does that mean for the election, the national election? How does
Well, it
that
means,
work? It
well, it
just
clearly
don't
means
quite
if
get
he's
that.
if he's disqualified, which he clearly is disqualified by participating in January 6th. Okay, the judge, I believe that the judge in the state of Colorado, I believe it was, had ruled that in her summary, she had ruled that he had participated in that insurrection. All these people, these particular people fall under the 14th Amendment, Section 3. And that states that anybody who, had already taken an oath to defend the Constitution, are not going to be allowed to be on the ballot or be in elected positions of power. I personally believe that, he should already have been locked up for this particular action. I personally believe that this person should have been locked up a long time ago, and we wouldn't see so many hate crimes, being committed and so many mass shootings being committed. It's ridiculous. I'd like to see Donald Trump be held accountable once for his life.
Yeah, thanks. And Larry, did you want to say anything else about what it means for Trump to get disqualified from any of the ballots?
Oh, I mean, it means he wouldn't appear on the ballot, so there wouldn't be electoral votes from that state. So even though California is a lock for the Democrats, it's still important to show the illegitimacy of Donald Trump's candidacy. So, yeah, thanks again, and thanks so much, Kwana, for everything. I think